indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen, Senator Givens, Senator Thayer, Senator Webb, Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wilson, Senator Boswell, and Chairman Howe, Senator Howe.
Here, Senator Thayer just walked in too.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we get started, does anyone have any guests they'd like to introduce today? That's a very, very stylish entry you have there. Just a couple of things, a couple little house cleaning measures. We still have the 24-hour rule for subs and amendments that coming in, and please see me if you can, or Kelly, or both, before anyone tries to file some of those. A couple of announcements of guests here. We have graduate fellow Emily Wiley. Emily, where are you? Stand up and wave to everybody. So Emily's with us for the session. Appreciate having you here. And Laterica Spivey is a session intern. Stand up and wave. There you go. You got to have your 15 seconds of fame. Glad to have you here. Appreciate all your help. And I have Landon Kreider with me. He's interning with me. He's a student over at Transy from my district. Just happy to have him here as well. First thing on the agenda is Senate Bill 16. We're going to pass over this, but the sponsor here, Senator Schickel, wanted to say a few things about the bill. And Senator Schickel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Mainly, I just wanted to sit in front of the Agricultural Committee before this.
It is like documenting a unicorn coming into your committee.
I don't think I've ever done it before. Thank you for letting me be here today, and thank you for all your work on Senate Bill 16. Senate Bill 16, like so many things, has become a little bit more complicated than what we anticipated. So we are working on a committee sub to address some of the concerns, and hopefully we'll have something ready for you next week. I think it is a really important bill. We have a big industry in this state which is requesting this bill for protection of their facilities, which I think one of them has a ribbon cutting this week in Bowling Green. A huge facility. What we're looking at doing, and we would want input from everybody, is maybe just adding this to the critical infrastructure bill, which passed 2 years ago. That House bill, I believe, was House Bill 44, and I believe it was almost a unanimous vote. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing. But we'll be back. And thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to compliment you and Senator Schickel for not trying to pass a bill out of committee and then doing a floor amendment. This is the better way to do it.
I agree with you. Advice well taken. Thank you.
It's always a good day when Leader Thayer and Senator Schickel agree on procedure. Senator Givens, I think, had a comment.
Mr. Chairman, I do. And Senator Schickel, thank you for this legislation. I do certainly absolutely support the intent of what you're trying to do here. One of the questions that I looked at over the weekend and thought some about it was, when we think about satellite imagery and satellite photography, I presume that we're not wanting to catch that as something that is deemed illegal by this legislation. I certainly don't know that we even have authority to catch that. But as it's worded, it may be something to think about. As we have a perpetual world of satellite imagery happening, we don't need to inadvertently do something. So thank you for your attention to trying to get it right.
Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I have a situation that occurs every year with some of my properties, some USDA requirements that they do some satellite imaging, but they do always ask for my permission. So I don't want to talk about that anymore today, but it's something that I do just about every year, and I always give them permission.
Yeah, thank you. I hadn't thought about that.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So next up, as is the case every 4 years or 8 years, we have a changing of the guard with the new ag commissioner. So we were pleased to have him come here today to address the committee and talk about anything that he wants to talk about. We left you an open floor, and within reason. We don't want to stay here past noon or anything like that. But glad to have you here. You always have an open invitation with this committee, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I am a little bit nervous about that because having Leader Thayer in here and the questions that he may respond back to me is something that I'm nervous about, how long we may be here. But I want to start just by saying thank you to this committee and the Ag Committee for your diligence every year in making sure that you are doing everything that you can to protect Kentucky agriculture and to help promote and market through that with the bills and the conversations that you all have. And Senator Howell asked me to come today to do an introduction of myself and the office and new staff that is over at the Department of Agriculture. And I'm pretty proud of my staff. I'm pretty proud of the employees that are over at the Department of Agriculture. And so getting the opportunity to do that, I wanted to jump at that. And so I'd like to just start, Senator Howell, if I could, just with an introduction of myself for the members of the committee who may not know me as well. I'm a fifth-generation farmer from Garrett County. That's what I do for a living. Never wanted to do anything else. I just wanted to farm. And we do our background in that is beef cattle. We raise beef cattle, heifers that we buy in and background up to about 800 pounds and then send them out. And they make it into the protein sources here in America. And we've got a great beef cattle industry in this state. And as you all know, we're 8th in the country, first east of the Mississippi. And, really proud of what our animal livestock looks like in the state of Kentucky. We also have greenhouse operation where we're 2 acres under roof and greenhouse. We do hanging baskets, bedding plants, those kind of things, and then got in the pumpkin business. If you want to be in a racket, the pumpkin business is the racket to be in. I love it. And has anybody in here, we go through mechanization in agriculture quite a bit. Has anybody in here ever seen a pumpkin picker, what they look like out in the field? Well, they're Senator, that's smart. They're 12, 10, 8, and 6 is what they are. And that's what we have on our farm. I have 4 children. My wife, we've been married 13 years. And it truly is a pleasure to be in front of you all. And like I said, I'm a farmer by trade. Those of you that don't know, I was former House Majority Leader for the state of Kentucky here for a couple of years and state representative. And I really cherish my time being in the legislature and understand and respect the roles that you all have and that you play in Kentucky. And it is an important role that you all have. And this committee is one of the most important committees to Kentucky because of the impact that agriculture has, not just with the farmers that we represent, but with agriculture and the economy as a whole. And what I want to express to you all after I introduce my team members is that agriculture is economic development. Agriculture is an industry and it's a business. These are businessmen and women that have farms in this state that produce products, that produce livestock, that produce shelter, that produce fiber, that helps make this economy grow. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, to my right, I have my Chief of Staff, Mark Bowling. He is from Crofton originally in Christian County and now lives in Laurel County. He comes from the finance industry, 35 years there in managing people and in the finance industry. Behind me, I also have my staff of Brandon Reed, which many of you all may know him a little bit. His last day in the legislature was last Friday, and he is now the executive director of the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. And I don't have to express to you all how important that is to the state of Kentucky and what those tobacco monies have meant in diversifying agriculture and really having an economic impact all across the state of Kentucky. And I can tell you that as we have transitioned through time and time again of new executive directors, Brandon is almost appeared to have been born for the job. And I can't wait to see the success that he's going to have being the executive director over KOAP. We also have with me an existing employee that we've promoted to executive director of administrative services, Ms. Lee McIntosh. She's over top of the HR, budget, and IT at the Department of Agriculture and does an amazing job. I like to brag and tell people that while others are trying to find email addresses when they first come in, we had them on day one and started working. I mean, our employees at the department work every single day diligently to make sure that we can do the job of Kentucky agriculture. I also have my new General Counsel, Heather Becker, and Heather is going to be making sure that we're legal and doing the things that we have to at the Department of Agriculture, but I also have her looking towards federal policy that's coming out that may be detrimental to rural Kentucky and to the state and to agriculture as a whole. And so we've already started working on that. She checks the registries every single day to see what may be coming down the pike so that we can either make comment on it or look at pushing back against things that may not be as beneficial to agriculture as what they may want to think it is out of Washington, D.C. And so I'm grateful to have her on staff. I also have with me Will Napier, who's my executive assistant, who is going to be working on projects alongside of me, working towards economic development, helping keep the department running in the direction that we need to. And he'll be a point of contact for all of you all as well. That'll help get me scheduled in your districts and the things that we need to do for Kentucky agriculture. We also have with us the new state vet, which he's not new anymore, but we call him the new state vet, Dr. Steve Velasco. And Dr. Velasco comes to us from Texas, and he's been here for about 8 months now, I think, Doc, and is doing a great job making sure that animal agriculture and looking at our animal health in the state is really working. One of the things that I do want to talk to the committee about is an additional budget request that we've made to the legislature about increasing the amount of employees that we have and the funding for the Emergency Preparedness Division that was created at the Department of Agriculture under the last administration. Our division director, Eric Gibson, is not here with us today, or else I'd love to be able to introduce you to him. He's at a conference with emergency management. But to give you all a little bit of a taste of what that division does and what it can do for the state of Kentucky, and many of you all know the situation that's going on in Clinton County currently with the lack of water infrastructure that's going on there. Over the weekend, we started getting calls because not only was it detrimental to the citizens of Clinton County of being able to get their water in, but it was detrimental to the animal agriculture that was there. And as you know, water is a delicate resource that we have to have for human life and for animal life. And as we got into about Friday and Saturday, it started getting to a code red situation where the farmers were out of water in their poultry houses. And so working with Dr. Velasco in the coordination of Eric Gibson, we were able to work with the governor's office and Kentucky Emergency Management to coordinate water that was non-potable, not going to human consumption, to be able to get into our poultry industry down there to be able to save close to 1 million birds in Clinton County that were without water. And so I'm really proud of the work that they were able to do in coordinating that alongside emergency management across the state, local fire departments, and others, private sector individuals that just came in to help. It really was a large feat. A lot of times, people do work, but sometimes they go above and beyond. And that's what happened this past weekend with our poultry industry down in Clinton County and the employees at the Department of Agriculture and across that region, was they went above and beyond to ensure that people's livelihoods were taken care of. And I do want to say a special thank you to Dr. Velasco and also Eric Gibson and all those that were involved. Gratitude is free, and I want to make sure that we're showing gratitude to the people who were down there helping save those people's livelihoods. We also have with us Dana Feldman. I don't see Dana, but sorry, she's behind the pillar. Dana is the executive director over consumer and environmental protection. And as many of you all know, that if you can't find a place for it in state government, you put it in the Department of Agriculture. We test gas pumps, we test zip lines, bounce houses, a lot of things at the Department of Agriculture that are not necessarily ag-related, but you have the confidence in us and our employees to get the job done when it comes to public safety. And Dana is the one that's overcharged of that department and does a great job, and really appreciate her efforts. Is anybody else behind the pillar? Did I get everybody? I think so. Someone who's not with us today that you all will be in communication with quite often is Jay Hall. Jay is the new executive director over the marketing division at the Department of Agriculture, and that's where Kentucky Proud is housed. Farm to school, farm to fork, farm to table, those kind of operations are over in the marketing department. And Jay's actually working over there this morning. He had a couple of meetings that he couldn't rearrange after we were asked to come and present today. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to talk about, as you all know, we have the regulatory and inspection side of the Department of Agriculture that deals with what we just talked about. Inspection, regulation, making sure that people are legal, that they've got their paperwork done, that public safety, all those kind of things. We also have the marketing division of the Department of Agriculture that works towards making sure that agriculture is promoted and marketed in the correct way as large as we possibly can. We have the animal health division that also secures our food supply system and ensuring that our animals are taken care of, and that if incidents happens that we can respond quickly. One of the things that I want to do that I've noticed throughout the state as we went through the campaign and being in the legislature is I want to work towards helping professionalize agriculture economic development in the state of Kentucky, and to really retool and refocus the department in certain ways to be able to work with our economic development cabinet, local economic development directors, and our university systems to really identify deficiencies and opportunities that we have in the state of Kentucky in various areas. And I want you all to be that partner with me to help me identify those things and the infrastructure needs that we have and the marketing needs, the processing needs, so that we can go above and beyond where we need to be in economic development for agriculture products. A lot of times in economic development, we just chase the smokestacks, trying to get the next factory into the local community because it's the amount of jobs that are there, and it's good for local communities to have those good, high-paying jobs. But I think that if we take a moment and take a breath and we look in the ground, that we're going to find gold there with our farmers and our agribusinesses across the state of Kentucky and the infrastructure that we need. Because we have the ability as farmers to be able to produce not only the food for us to be able to survive, but also for the rest of the world and to be able to go beyond that. you know, agriculture has gotten so technologically advanced. We've gotten so efficient in the processes that we work on through the genetics, through the technologies, that really the opportunities are endless and boundless in that. And so what I want you all to be able to see over the next 4 years is that we're taking very meaningful, deliberate, and efficient steps towards working in economic development as agriculture and agriculture as economic development, so that we're working hand in glove not only with you here in the legislature, but also with the administration, the governor's office, and economic development to ensure that we're not getting left behind in agriculture, because it is something that I'm going to focus on, and it's something that I want you all to be a partner in with me as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, for you and your staff coming in today. I believe Senator Westerfield had a comment.
I've actually got a couple of questions, if I may.
We'll see. No. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And it's for either you or your chief of staff. I want to know whether or not he's familiar with the distance between Crofton and Fruit Hill. Yes, I am. And how many times he's made that trip. That's a prerequisite for this position.
I'm very well familiar with Fruit Hill, Kentucky.
Very good. And I want to know if our gas pumps will be more accurate with your name on stickers than your predecessor.
Well, I can promise you this, that they will be as accurate as they possibly can be under the employees that work at the department that do that job every single day. And I can tell you that they're really good at their jobs and what they do. And one of the things that I've been able to notice, we had a situation in Berea this past weekend, just talking about people going above and beyond. We don't regulate kerosene at the department. It's a heating oil. It's a heating fuel, not a motor fuel, and so we don't regulate that. And we worked with Senator Carpenter and other local people. Our employees went down there to check it, to make sure, to go through the process, to work with those people. And I tell you, I just can't brag on the employees at the department enough to be able to show you what they are actually capable of doing and the jobs of how efficiently they are at it. Dana does a great job running her shop over there under the regulation and inspection, and Jason Glass is the one that's the division director over that. But they will be as accurate as they possibly can be for public safety and making sure that those consumers are protected. And we will be announcing a new initiative that we're going to be working towards a little bit later on in the year to bring awareness to hot vehicles also on the pumps. And so keeping children and pets safe in that. But we'll be announcing that a little bit later on in the year, trying to utilize that sticker for a little bit more than just the inspection process.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's a pleasure to have you. Congratulations again, and glad that you picked such a wise.
I figured you would be proud of that, Senator from Christian County.
Not just Christian County, but Crofton.
Yeah.
That's a special place.
I don't know. That north side of Christian County is kind of rough. Leader Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, get to call you that for the first time in a public forum. It's great to see you here today. Really proud of you. What we did during your time as Majority Floor Leader, the first Republican House Majority Floor Leader since Warren Harding was President of the United States, changed the trajectory of this state and increased the prospects for prosperity for more Kentuckians than ever. And I'll never forget those times. Good times, and the benefits of that will continue to be felt by new generations of Kentuckians. So, but I feel like this is the job you were made for. And I'm glad you're here today. The senator from Christian doesn't have the exclusive on citizens from his district being hired for important jobs. I'm glad to note that you've hired my constituent and fellow Georgetown resident Jay Hall to head up the marketing division. I'm sure he'll do a fine job. You continue the tradition, the 3 in a row now of good friends of mine sitting in that seat, and looking forward to working with you the rest of this year. I know you've got some big budget requests, so I've got some questions for you, and your answers to these will be critical in deciding whether or not I can support your increased budget requests. So my first question is, since your department regulates zip lines in Kentucky, what is your favorite zip line in Kentucky, and why is it located at the Ark Encounter in Grant County in the 17th Senate District?
Well, that's because my kids go on it all the time whenever we're up there. But I appreciate that question, Senator Thayer. I really don't know how to answer that.
Oh, you're doing fine so far. We're doing fine so far. Now,
if that's the one I have to pick, it's because of my kids.
Okay, that's a good answer. Now,
I'm blaming them.
I have another question for you. What is your favorite song of all time, and why is it Hotel California by the Eagles?
It is. Because you sing it so well, Senator. That's my reasoning.
Now
behind it.
you're bordering on the absurd, because we all know that I can't sing. And I also know, and this will be my last question, Mr. Chairman.
That actually is my mother's favorite song too.
Well, see,
Huge Eagles fan.
she has great taste for the greatest band of all time, just so we're clear. I see Chauncey Morris here from the Kentucky Thoroughbred Association, and I know with the Kentucky Proud program how important Kentucky's horse industry is to the agriculture economy of this state. And you also know that Kentucky-bred horses are the leading market share in the United States, and that Kentucky is a leading exporter of bloodstock throughout the world. So my final question to you, and this is very important, is who is your favorite Kentucky-bred racehorse of all time, and why is his name Spectacular Bid?
It's Spectacular Bid because you and I talk about him so often.
Greatest horse to ever look through a bridle. Your budget's looking good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment about that real quickly, just for your being at ease, Senator, is that the contract was up for the Kentucky-bred horses at the Kentucky Derby. I've been able to have the Kentucky Proud label on that. We finalized that contract this week, and so we are still in good shape on that. The other thing is I'm just proud to be from the horse capital of the world here in Kentucky, and look forward to really working with Chauncey and others who how we can better celebrate our horse industry here in the state. And as you know, it's the 150th year of the Kentucky Derby. We have a milestone year for the Kentucky Derby, and I think that we ought to celebrate that in a big way and make a big deal about that leading up to the running of the Roses. And so I look really forward to doing that alongside of you. If you have any ideas, or anyone else in here on the committee has ideas of how we can increase that exposure for the Kentucky Derby being the 150th year, I'm all ears.
Thank you. I think next, Senator Boswell.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one comment, and it's probably not something you're aware of yet, but it's an issue that's kind of come before me as I buy gas. And since Senator Westerfield mentioned about the gas pump, and this is a serious question. Mm-hmm. So there are some gas stations right now, once you pump your gas, that they're actually offering you to donate money. There's no specific, mention something, but there's no specifics. Anywhere from rounding up to $5. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are actually doing that. So just for curiosity, I went inside several of the gas stations and asked for information about this so-called charity, and they don't have any information. So I just want to make you aware of that, and I think it's probably something that needs to be looked at.
Yes, sir. I'm sure Dana's making a note of that right now, and we'll check into it and see.
Thank you. Next, Senator Webb, I believe, had a question.
Thank you. Welcome. It's hard for me not to call you Jonathan.
That's all right.
Because I sometimes drive by that farm, but it just does me good to know that we've got you at the helm and somebody that knows the drill, and working with Brandon like I've done for the past few years. I mean, he gets it, and there's just a great comfort level for those of us. I know I can speak for these guys here, that we've all been busting ice all weekend to feed, to water the cattle, et cetera, and I even lost a calf. But it makes me feel better knowing that you're there, and I'm proud of you, like Senator Thayer is, and just look forward to working with you. And I'm glad you have put an emphasis on federal policy, because I work on federal policy all the time with ag and sportsman's issues, and sometimes they go hand in hand as well. So look forward to working with you in that capacity too.
I appreciate it, Senator. Thank you very much. I actually lost a calf this weekend myself. I know the hardships of it. Mr. Chairman, I actually did have two people that I failed to introduce. We also have Madison Pergram, who's from Senator Carpenter's district from Madison County. She's my communications director. And somebody who I can't believe I forgot to introduce, Senator Givens, who's not here, is Mr. Warren Beeler. He's my deputy ag commissioner. And he's actually working today himself off-site, and so he's doing the job of the people today as well. We're excited to have him.
Thank you. Senator Chambers Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Commissioner. I'm looking forward to working with you. I was inspired by Leader Thayer's difficult questions, very tough. And also, I learned something new. I did not know that you regulated bounce houses, and Leader Thayer's very difficult questions about zip lines got me thinking that I just had to have an answer to this. Are you personally looking forward to testing yourself the zip lines or the bounce houses, and why?
So I get motion sick, so I'm very much more on a zip line than I am going to be on a bounce house.
That seems like a reasonable answer. Thank you, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
Appreciate it, Senator. Thank you.
Senator Carpenter.
This is not going to go well for me with Senator Carpenter.
I can't control that. I just control flow of comments.
I was going to keep it really professional, but he said the word pillar like 3 times, and I said, you can tell he's from our area when he calls a column a pillar. Most of the time a pillar is what we all sleep on, Jonathan. I mean, from a country boys, we know a pillar as like the thing you lay your head on, not the thing that's blocking his staff folks back here, so. But I had to harass him. But I do that because we've become such good friends. We represented the same area. We represent a district, and I've watched Jonathan grow as a person and as a leader. And we have had a great time and been great friends. We talk all the time, and he did help. You know, people ask about. They ask me all the time, Jared, why do you continue to do that? Because I know it's a hassle, this job. But like this weekend, one of the things that really makes it nice is we had a tragedy happen that some folks had went to get kerosene, and they put it in their heater, and somehow it got contaminated with gas. We don't know if the tank is contaminated. Jonathan's folks or Commissioner Shell's folks are working on that to check that now. But I was able to call him. You know, the fire chief called me, the mayor called me, all these folks were calling. I called Jonathan at 5:30 on a Friday. Nobody else in state government other than some of our staff, Gene Bird, was able to answer the phone and talk to me some. But we couldn't call hardly anybody else to get an answer. And so those are the things of why we do this job, is for the connections to be able to help our community. And you know, I was proud to be able to campaign and work for Jonathan, because I knew what the job that he would do. You see his professionalism. He takes this very serious. I'm trying to harass him to loosen him up a little bit. But he takes this very serious because his family's farmed his entire life. So he's a perfect fit. He's a person that needs this job, that will do an outstanding job for Kentucky with this job and get the right folks. That's what I told him. I was on the transition team, and some folks in this room will laugh. I really was instrumental because I went to so many of the meetings.
You all know how much he loves going to a meeting.
But I was on the phone with a lot of folks, and they hired some really good people, and some of them from my district. And their staff is outstanding. And a lot of that, I told Jonathan, I said, one of the most important things you can do is have the right kind of people around you up here. If you have the right folks around you, you can do an outstanding job. You get toxic folks around you, and you'll have to fight it every day. And so he's hired the right kind of people that understand who he is, the job he wants to do, and how important this is for Kentucky, because they're a true representation. If something goes wrong, they don't call somebody that's the staff attorney. They know him. They know Jonathan Shell. And so he understands how important that is, and they've done a great job of hiring the right kind of folks. So I'm proud of him. But that deal this weekend was able to call, and we're still working on it. This guy's he put that kerosene, which was contaminated with gas, and for any of you all that don't know much about it, it's like a time bomb. Yeah. It blew up and destroyed their house, killed their dog, burnt one of the gentlemen severely. He's in the hospital, and they're trying to figure out who is the authorizing agent that monitors kerosene. I didn't know it. I thought anything that was a liquid fuel would be through the Department of Ag, but because it's not a road fuel, it doesn't go through them. So we're working to find out exactly who's in charge of that, or if it's just self-monitoring. And you know, you never know. Sometimes people have jugs that they put gas in. They say they empty them, but do they? You know, there are so many things that we were trying to figure out about it, but it's a terrible deal. But the long story short, or short story long, was that we was able to call Commissioner Shell, and he got his folks down there and worked on it, and was just a big help. So that's why we do this job, because of the folks like you that make sure that we're able to serve our constituents. And so I had to harass you about the pillar comment because it's too good not to, but we appreciate you being here, and I look forward to working with you for years to come, Jonathan.
Yep. Thank you, Senator, and thank you for serving on transition.
Thank you, Senator Carpenter. A little bit of foreshadowing. It seems like in your future, probably kerosene is going to be listed to as another item that
I don't know. We'll defer to the experts on that and where it needs to go. You know, the difference in the heating fuels, that would be under where like propane, natural gas, heating oils, those kind of things. And so before we would make any kind of official comment, I definitely want to make sure that it's the right fit for it if it's necessary to be there. And
for the record, in my neck of the woods, we would never use the word column. We would use pillar.
Pillar, right? Yeah.
So, you know, it's just good.
Stalactite, is that another one, Senator Thayer? Would that be? Okay.
He's more esteemed than the rest of us with his vocabulary. I will say this. I'm looking forward to your run as Ag Commissioner. we're off to a start where it's going to be a little different, because usually when people end their tenure, we have a roast, and instead we're beginning your tenure here with a roast. Yeah. So maybe you can change up a bunch of things in this role. But we really do appreciate you coming here today. Look forward to working with you and all of your staff. I agree with Senator Carpenter's comments. You put a great staff around you. We look forward to everything that you'll be doing. Look forward to working with you for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome
committee
anytime.
members. Yes, sir.
Anyone else have anything else on the agenda? With that, we are adjourned.